closer to you. That's better. Okay. Can't do it.
Why not?
Okay.
Except.
Okay. Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm interviewing my mum on what it was like growing up in Germany, and I'm living in an era where the Berlin Wall was up, and also post that and post World War II. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Marion. Yes, and I'm here in beautiful South Africa with my daughter Louisa. And she just wanted to know what the life was like when I grew up.
We haven't really spoken about it much, like what it was like for you growing up in Germany. It's just recently sort of that.
Yeah, and Louisa was particularly interested in growing up in an area where there was the Cold War, like West and East Germany were separated by a wall. And for us, we were a very, very small family. It was just me, my brother, who was 2 years younger, and my mum and dad. That was all. There were no family, no other family around, and my parents also had very few friends.
And
So
can you just tell everyone where in Germany you lived? Because there was apparently like the good side to live and the bad side of the wall.
yeah, the West Germany was basically where you had the freedom, where that was aligned to the US, and the east part was the communist side, was called Deutsche Demokratische Republik, so it had democracy in it, but it wasn't really a democratic state at all. So we had all our relatives there, which were only a few, but at least my grandparents were there. Then I had one aunt and her family with 2 children. And because of the war, we hardly ever saw them. When we were lucky, if we were lucky, we would go there once a year, but we were not always able to go there once a year. You had to ask permission, you had to a visa, some sort of a visa, and then you also had to pay money in terms of you had to exchange, every adult had to exchange a certain amount of money, which at that time, back then, it was 15 Deutschmark at the time per adult, which was $30 then for the couple for them, which was a lot of money in that time. My parents, nobody earned much money then. So
And both your parents were working though, right?
yeah, they were both working. And the thing what was very, very distinct for me as a child when we went there was this big wall, and there was this picket fence and electric picket fence. There were lots of soldiers running around with big machine guns, and everybody had the big German shepherds. It was so scary. We all were always so scared.
So one thing I was actually wondering about when we went there now, so if you guys aren't aware, we went to Germany and we went to Berlin and we got to see a little bit of what the Berlin Wall looked like. And what they kind of had like in the pictures was like, they had the paths and the grass, and then they had this like wire thing up, and then this like barren area. And then the wall came up.
Yeah.
So would they stand on the top with their guns waiting to shoot people, or it wasn't quite like that as they depicted in the movies? Like anyone who jumped across would be shot? Or
Yeah, that's true.
It was like that?
Yeah, they had sort of watchtowers from which they could see people, watch people, of course. So if you would approach it, you would be shot.
Get shot.
Yeah. Maybe a warning would be given, but yeah.
And did people actually, did you ever witness anyone who tried to escape or tried to get through the wall?
No,
or hear stories of anyone who tried to, without the authorities kind of knowing, get through the wall?
Actually, no, not as such. Like I heard about people, like it was probably more shown in the Western TVs. Not so much in the, I would think that you wouldn't hear so much in the east side of it. So, yeah, every now and then, somebody got so desperate that they were really shot. And my cousin had a cousin. He he tried to escape. He
Yeah.
tried to escape in a car. He had a girlfriend, a French girlfriend, and they had met, I think, somewhere in an eastern country. She went for holidays there, and he happened to be there, and they fell in love, and he wanted to be with her in France. So he was hiding in a car, but when you went through the border in a car, they would also really investigate and check the car properly. So not every car, but most cars they would. And
So obviously
every
you were
car.
allowed through if you had like papers.
Yeah,
like a
you had
visa
you had to
or
have
something.
papers.
Okay.
So he was hiding in that car, and he was found. So he wasn't shot then, but he got put into prison.
And did they ever beat people? Like just beat them for no reason, or were they not really like that?
Yeah, I don't.
Hang on, let me
I-
try to put it down quickly.
yeah.
Okay guys, this little baby just woke up, and my mom actually at the same time got a phone call from my brother, so they're gonna chat a little bit and I'm gonna take care of this little bubba and then we're gonna continue in a second. Try to. Okay, you were telling me about your
Cousin's
cousin who got stuck at the border.
Yeah, so they found him and they put him straight into prison. So of course the whole family was absolutely upset, you know, it was a very big deal. Because at that time there was nobody would have ever thought that the wall would ever come down. So everybody thought he will spend the rest of his life in prison. But then I think he was lucky. Just a few years later, I think only 1 year. It was only 1 year later the wall came down, and with that he came out of prison. Yeah, he went on to be with that woman. So yeah, he had some nice years there. Yeah, but for us, like, it was always really awful. And I remember 1 year, my parents, I don't think they had the money to all come as a family. And I said, no, I'm okay, I will go by myself. I think maybe I was 12 or 14. I was young. I think I was 12.
Really young.
Oh my God, I was so scared when they, you know, I went by train. And then they went through the train into every compartment. The way they spoke, so rude, so awful.
Were they all like that though?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't met anybody else.
And
Maybe
even
they
the
were not-
females. I mean, I know that's very gender biased, but you'd think because you were a little girl, they would be, you know.
Nobody really
nice
cared. And then we had to go out. I remember it was so confusing. Oh God, I was so scared. I would not know when to go back to the train. It was really not nice. Anyway, it all was good. Then once you arrived there where you had to be, you had to go again to the police station and register, and everything was kind of, what are you doing here? Why are you here? All this, you know, like really rude, bad. And the worst thing also, people were very different. Like, you could not say what you want.
No, you've told me a bit about that.
Yeah, they were
Maybe
always.
If you just explain to people what you mean, like in context of what.
So you could not ever say, oh my God, the government is like such and such. You could not share what you really thought. You always had to say, no, all is good. I really, you know, I'm happy. I've got work. I've this, that, all that. You could not ever criticize the system at all. If you did, you would also end up in prison. So the whole atmosphere was suppressed in a way.
And do you think a lot of people view Germany and like Germans are like so strict and like routine and are suppressed because of that, obviously then? Because of their upbringing?
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah,
Because like, they were never allowed to say what they felt. They weren't allowed to really express themselves in any way.
They were not. I mean, before it was a Nazi German was the same. You could not say ever what you thought. You would go into the concentration camp, you know, if you didn't like what was happening. And after the war in the East, in a way, it continued. So yeah, it was always wonderful then being with my grandparents. I've got really amazing memories, but the whole system really just ruined family families, you know, there were many families who had members in both parts of
Didn't
Germany.
Oma
So,
have my Oma, your mom? Didn't she? Wasn't her family on the other side?
yeah,
Like
they
her
were all-
sisters, everything. She was the only one
Yeah, yeah,
on her own.
yeah.
And
Yeah, so, and when then the wall came down, as I said before, like nobody would have ever thought the wall would come down, but then it did. And then my cousin, she moved to that place where I grew up, close to my mum, which was good, so we had a little bit more contact. But so what the system does, it had changed the personality of the people. There was a clear, even though we spoke the same language and also in a way have similar, longer history, but the way you perceive yourself and the world was really different.
and was there also like an aesthetic difference between the two sides?
The what?
Like the look of it. Oh my! You could have just poured it off the tea all over me. No, Ava, I think it's done. There's tea everywhere. Yeah. What I was going to say is like the look, was it different? Because when we went to Berlin, it almost felt like a part of the city looked very different to a different part. Like half of it was like super depressing, and then the other side seemed newer.
Oh yeah.
Like
So,
does it look different? Did it look like harsh grey and dull?
Yeah.
And
yeah. It did, and it already had this. It always had this particular smell about it. It comes from the different engines that they used on different petrol. It was called I don't know what do you say, two-tacters. Different kind of engines, and it smelled in a particular way. But everything looked different because the East did not put any money in renovations at all. So later on, when the wall came down, I moved to Berlin, and I was so lucky. I worked a few days a week outside of Berlin in the east part. What was it one?
And this was after the wall was
After
down.
the wall was down, yes, Berlin was amazing, just an amazing energy. I lived in the west part of Berlin. But worked in the east part of Germany, so where there were so many houses you could still see where the bullets had hit.
Wow.
So nothing was done on the houses. There was never any material available, very hard to come by. It was very different.
Wow.
Very, very backwards, you can say, in many ways, very backwards.
And when the wall was up, I think I read something or watched it in a movie or something, I can't remember, but like you weren't allowed to take any food through, right? Like
That's right. No,
there was a
you
movie I watched, I can't remember what it was. Something about the lady wasn't allowed to take oranges across, like such a simple thing such as an orange.
Yeah, no.
Like was it really not allowed? Nothing.
No.
The fruit, like what did they have?
No sausages, nothing you could take. You could not take anything over.
But did they have those things on the other side, or did they just live off of potatoes, or what was
Orange
it?
was very hard to come by over there, yeah. I
So
think
it's
you
real.
could take more things into East Germany than taking out. Out you could not take
Okay.
anything. But because we were able to send also parcels over, I think, a lot of
Okay,
things
wasn't
you
maybe
could
as bad
send.
as the movie that I watched.
No, but on the other hand, it was very strict. It was very strict from, you could not take anything from the east part to the west part. No sausages, no nothing. No food, nothing.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very, very different. So people, to me, they did not look happy.
They probably
My
weren't happy.
my family, in a way, my auntie, she was, and they were always in a good mood in a way, but they tried to make the best of it that they could. There was no point sitting there and feeling sorry for yourself, but everybody was always aware, be careful what you're saying. You never know who is watching.
And do you think that's also sort of where sense of privacy comes from. Because like, you know, in Germany, like if someone's like watching over your wall, like they're quite strict in their privacy.
See, it's no,
Aren't they? Or they're
no,
not really?
they're not. East and West Germany is really different. And the people in the East, you know, in there, they had also good friendships. They had good friendships, but still it's different. And in the West Germany, I mean, like, you know, we were living in Australia for a long time. There you have the high walls around your property.
Yeah, that's true. It's
There
not
you
just
don't see
Germany.
anybody playing on the streets. In West Germany is very different. You know, you always talk to your neighbours.
As you said, Australia.
Yes, I'm saying in Australia. So,
Oh, okay, yeah, so it's not just Germany, basically. It's like...
no, in Australia I was so shocked when we came there because coming from the west part of Germany, I was used to just seeing kids always in the streets playing. I was used to the neighbours talking with each other and so on, but there it was not.
Really?
Australia was not.
I don't remember that.
No, it was also in the east part. In the east part of Germany, they had very good friends. That was basically all they had because they were not allowed to travel. They were not allowed to leave the country. We from the west could go and visit once a year when we got permission.
Just once a year, was it?
Once a year. But the people from the east part could not go out. They could go nowhere, anywhere. Unless, you know, like some other communist countries, they might get permission to go on holidays for a little while. But they also, again, had strong borders where they could not just go from there to the west. So, yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't go there now. And if you guys didn't quite realize, my mom actually moved to Australia, so immigrated and never moved back to Germany. I wanted to ask you, did you ever regret moving countries like to Australia, leaving Germany behind?
No, I had a chance to settle back into Australia, into Germany when Louisa was little, but I felt very much drawn to Australia. I think it's a sense of more freedom, being much more relaxed, not so materialistic. I think Europe in general, Germany is very, you know, quite materialistic. It's nice, it's beautiful. I still love the country, of course, and I love going there. But to live there, I think we all have a much better life in Australia.
And what is one of your like fondest memories from when you were younger, like that involved sort of like a German tradition or like, you know, something you didn't get in a different country like Australia?
Yeah, I mean, that must be Christmas. That must be Christmas, you know, a white Christmas, a beautiful snow, which we don't have in Australia. The whole atmosphere, you know, in Germany, of course, you know, they have... People think German people are very kind of strict and narrow-minded and
that is the
from the
picture
head.
people paint.
But it is also like so cozy in a way, and people make you feel really welcome when you go to the houses, and particularly over Christmas. You know, we've got lots of coffee afternoons, like Germany, very
Coffee and cake.
coffee, and people love their
Every
coffee
day.
and cake.
And
you sit and have your candles and your Christmas decorations, and it's getting dark. By 4 o'clock it is dark, and then you put your candles on, and you're nice, you know, it smells like Christmas because you've got kind of stuff. Most people at my time, like when I was, they would bake something. So I've got very fond memories actually, you know, and we had many years when I was little where we had snow, making snowman in the, you know, fresh snow was always a huge excitement for us. So that is something you don't really get anywhere else. It is something really special. Something that I want. Oh, you had a few
We've had a
Christmases.
few white Christmases, and
Yeah.
it's true, the spirit is different. You know, there are the Christmas markets, the
Yeah.
delicious food, it's just the whole spirit is there. And yeah, that's definitely something I want Ava to experience too
Yeah, it would be so nice to have to show that to
in
Eva.
the future.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I had any other questions because I did write a few down. But I think we covered like so many nice things. everything.
Yeah.
That was
Really,
amazing.
all I can say is at the end, it is so stupid what governments do. They not considering people's well-being, just following their ideas about their politics, separating families, taking away their freedom, deforming. You can say deforming the psychological well-being of people. So for that, I think even more so, I appreciate Australia. We have all the freedom in West Germany for sure, but Australia is kind of, I really enjoyed that even more so. You've got even more things that you can do as an individual.
Sorry, she
It's
just took
okay.
over the entire conversation.
Yeah.
It's wrapping paper.
Yeah. So, I'm glad this time is over, but actually when you really think, it is still, after all those years, we just had a bit of a family reunion. After all these years, the people from the East, they still feel, in their experiences at work, they still feel, after all those years, they still feel people think in terms of East and West. Oh, they are from the East, they are from the...
Really?
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Wow.
Particularly because there is in the East they have very strong, parts of the East have very strong accents. So you hear it straight away, and the people still, of course, were talking in this kind of accent. And so there's days that it's still, to this day, how many years later, it was 89 when the wall came down, almost, 30 years later.
89?
89 is what? Yeah. It's still, people are still thinking, and the infrastructure of the country, of that part of the country is still, can't still compare to the West. Still different.
So interesting. Ava.
All right.
Okay,
So
cool.
I think we need to go.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And
Wait for me.
wait for
Wait
you.
for me. Yeah. Well, thanks for sitting through this with me. The second half of the video is very distracted. Sorry, Ava. But yeah, thanks for answering the questions. It's so interesting.
Yes.
Thanks for being on my channel. And
Of course.
thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any more questions on something like this, then we can do another video maybe in the future.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that would be nice.
Absolutely.
And subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.